All right, well then we'll start. How's that? I kind of feel like they shoved us in the back closet. Does anybody else feel that way? I mean, you guys don't deserve that. Maybe I do, but you don't deserve that. But you know what you can do to get back at them? You take this form right here. You mark 10s on it right now. It gives me something to live up to. I will, I promise. And if I don't, I'll refund you on the ink. All right, so real quick, going to introduce myself. My name's Stoney DeGeyter. I have been doing what I like to call web presence optimization since 1998. Now, you might know this as SEO or digital marketing, web marketing. There's a lot of different names for it. I like web presence optimization. I think it more accurately describes what we do because we take all of the elements of organic and digital marketing, and it's the entire web presence that we're dealing with. Social optimization, content strategy, all of that really goes into the entire web presence, and that's what we want to focus on. If you're online on social networks, pull open Twitter. I promise I won't think that you're texting during my presentation. So just go ahead and @StoneyD, best presentation ever, 3 exclamation points, hashtag ASE17. I will live up to it, I promise. I did write a book called The Best Damn Web Marketing Checklist, period. And I am going to do a couple things here. I'm going to give away a free copy of the book when I'm done. So if somebody wants to take these, pass them around. Thanks. Pass those around. Oh, I forgot about this. Stick it in the hat. Somebody. Nice catch. Pass that with it. Put that in the hat. I will give a copy away when we're done here. I do have some other ones here you can buy. They're $15, $10 if you want it signed. Okay, there you go. You got it. All right, and actually, I'll go ahead and give one away right now to whoever can answer this question. Who wants it? She's good at sports. She caught it. Okay, good job. All right. And my company, Pole Position Marketing, digital marketing agency, we handle all aspects of helping you grow your web presence. So that's what we do. All right, so let's get started here. How many of you have a website already? Okay, most everybody. And keep your hand up, keep your hand up. If your website works perfectly, if it doesn't, put your hand down. So if your website works perfectly, keep your hand up. Okay, nobody. There's my point. All right, I stumbled through that a little bit. So the point is your site's broken. And I guess we all know that there's always something wrong with our websites. No matter what we do, there's always going to be something that's not working, not functioning. Maybe there's things that can be improved. And that is, part of the whole process of SEO, search engine optimization, building, online marketing, is we're always looking at how to improve things, how to make something better, how to make it work better. And our website's no different. Every website is broken to a certain degree. And what we're going to talk about is certain things that involve more of the coding, behind-the-scenes aspects of a website that may be hindering your success online. And look at some things so you understand what the problems are. Some of these things you'll be able to fix. Some of them you won't be able to fix. And that's just the nature of websites. Sometimes you just got to pay somebody who knows what they're doing to get in there. But what we're going to do is make sure you are aware of what the problems are, what the problem areas are, and you can tell somebody how to do that. First thing we got to realize is that great design does not always equal great code. And that's one of the things when we develop websites, and I mean collectively, we often look at the design first because that's what the user sees. They go in, type in a URL, they see the design, and as long as everything works from their end, we think, hey, great, our website's done. But the problem is behind the scenes, there's a lot of issues with the site that are actually impacting your success. And you may not even know that it's impacting your success because it is all that behind the scenes stuff. Now, when it comes to SEO, there's a lot of things that SEO covers. social media marketing, content strategy, keyword optimization. But one of the biggest factors of SEO is the behind-the-scenes code. And I like to say that there's two aspects of SEO. There's a search engine optimization aspect and there's a search engine friendly aspect. The search engine friendly stuff is kind of one and done. You get it, your site's search engine friendly, then you can move on to the optimization of marketing, which is an ongoing thing. And we often encounter websites that come to us and say, hey, listen, we want you to optimize our website. We look at the website, we say, well, we can't optimize the website because it's not yet search engine friendly. So we got to go back to the code and start fixing problem after problem after problem. And then $10,000 later, we say, okay, now we can start doing what you wanted us to do to begin with. Now, if you are in a position that you're building a new website or rebuilding a site, because every site at some point you got to go back and say, let's start over, let's do a redesign, redevelopment, get an SEO involved because it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money to work on these integrated SEO, search engine friendly aspects from the beginning. And you want to get them involved to make sure that the site that is produced before it even goes live, it's already search engine friendly and it has as much of that stuff baked in as possible because it's always better to build something right. Now, it's going to cost you more. Anybody who quotes you on web design, it's going to cost you more to do a lot of the search engine behind the scenes stuff, but it's going to save you more on the front end. Once you get going with that online marketing, it'll save you 10 times what you'll invest if you do it early on. So just make sure you're doing it right from the start. So let's look at some coding issues, some specific things, and then if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. We have enough time, I think, to do this. But otherwise, we can make sure we have time at the end. One of the main things, search engines now are obviously, last few years, they've been pushing sites going to HTTPS being fully secure. So that is one of the things, and we talked about earlier with a group of people that issue, that importance of going fully secure is getting more and more important as the years go on, where Google is saying, hey, listen, we made this a little bit important, and then next year they're going to make it a little bit more important, and then after that it's going to be a little bit more important, and all of this influences your rankings, and that becomes even more important when your competitor sites are ranking better because they've already made that switch over. But it's not just a search engine issue, and a lot of the things we're going to talk about here are not just search engine issues, they're user issues, because if you look here, you see that in Chrome and Firefox, they give the visitor a nice handy little message that says, hey, warning, warning, there's a problem with the site. It's not secure. Now, Internet Explorer is kind of FU, we don't care, but, they're not a big browser anymore. They're somewhere around 5% of the market, I think. So when it comes to the browsers that more visitors are using, they're giving out these notices and they're letting people know that there's a problem with the website if it's not fully secure. So that is one thing you do want to start planning right now if you haven't done it already. And it's not just for the part of the website where you're collecting information or credit card data or shopping carts or anything like that. It is the entire website now that you need to have onto HTTPS. The robots.txt directive, now this is a file that goes into your root folder, if you're not familiar with it, that basically lets you tell the search engines what pages to stay out of. You say, you know what, these directories here, we don't want you to visit. These pages, we don't want you to visit. Just keep them out of the search engine index. Now, where this goes wrong is when you've got this. This is telling the search engine, stay out of the entire site. And a lot of people will accidentally have the site being disallowed by the search engines. And just usually when they're developing a website, they don't want the search engines to come and see the development website until it's ready to roll out. They roll out the website, they forget to change the directive. So it's important, if you're wondering, you say, hey, I'm not in Google, no matter what I'm doing, I'm not getting in there. This very likely could be the problem. What it should look like is, hey, you know what, Google, allow everything except for these directories. These are the ones that we want you to stay out of. Had a client very recently, we had a problem with the robots.txt file. We'd go and look at it, and it would say, hey, Google, come visit the whole site. And then we'd go look at it another day, and then it would be blocked. And then another day, it would be open again, and we're trying to figure out, nobody's going in and changing this. We're going to the client saying, hey, somebody on your side's changing it. They're coming to us saying somebody on your side's doing it, and we're like, we're not doing anything. What we found out is that there was a separate directive for secure and unsecure. And what a developer had done is said, oh, we moved the site to secure. We want to block Google from the unsecure site, and they put it in the directive. And yeah, that'll do it. But what you want is Google to see the old pages and redirect to the secure versions. You have a question?
Yeah, if you have a block, can you take like the first 3 years of posts that are probably irrelevant anymore and add back to the robot without this big, 3,000 pages or whatever?
So you're talking about when you want to get rid of old content?
Like anything from 2011.
Yeah. You can use this to get rid of old content and tell the search engines to stay out of it if it's not relevant to them. If your folders are arranged by dates, absolutely. You have to put in every folder. Every folder that you're trying to exclude has to be put in there. All right, so page load speed, also another issue that Google is putting more and more importance on because they want fast loading sites. Now, one of the things you got to remember when it comes to search engine optimization and Google is just trying to give their users the best experience possible. And if our goal as website owners and creators is to give our users the best experience possible, Google will notice that. So it's not really about, hey, what can we do to fool the search engines? It's just about what do we do to give Google what they want, which is just giving people what they want, and they want fast loading web pages. Couple of stats here. Sites that went from taking 10 seconds to load down to 2.5 seconds to load, their bounce rate went from 60% down to 12%, 13%. And that shows you, the faster your pages load, the more people you're going to keep on your website. And again, search engines saying, hey, look, if we don't want to send people to a website that they're just going to bounce out of. If 60% of the people are bouncing, Google might take a look at that and say, hey, you know what, you don't deserve these top search engine rankings. And similarly, when it comes time, going from 6 seconds down to 2.5 seconds, conversion rates increased around 400%, from 0.5% to 2%. So if you're looking, one of the important things about SEO, we say, look, it's about getting traffic from the search engines, but you also want to look at what can you do to convert the traffic that you're already getting to your website. Well, page load speed will help you convert that traffic. The faster your pages load, the more opportunities you have to keep people on, because eventually people get tired of waiting and trying to navigate pages and whatnot, and they'll leave. Now, you'll get some customers, but you want to make sure, you don't want to settle for some. You want to settle for as many as you possibly can. Mobile optimization, obviously, another important issue as more and more people are going mobile. A lot of people are starting their searches on mobile devices and then going and finishing those up on a desktop or something else. So, with mobile becoming, that prominent where it's literally in our pocket all the time, you're sitting waiting for a bus or you're waiting in line for something, people pull out their mobile phones, they start doing a little research. If your site isn't mobile optimized, you're going to have a hard time being found. Google is expected to go to their mobile first algorithm last year. And they're expected to go to it this year, and if they don't, they'll be expected to do it next year. But the point is they've made it clear they are moving to a mobile-first algorithm, which means what Google sees your site does, looks like, and performs on a mobile site, mobile device, that's how it's going to perform for desktop. Which means if your site sucks on mobile, you're going to have a problem getting rankings when people do a search on Google from their PC, their laptop, whatever. So you have to make sure that mobile is part of your online marketing strategy. 60% of people, if they have trouble accessing a page on mobile, they're going to go. They're gone. They're leaving. Another close to 60% won't recommend you to a friend if they have trouble accessing your site on a mobile device or it's slow. So these are things that are, again, important. And again, combining mobile and site speed, then mobile page load speed, also very important. Some quick stats here. For every second delay, you've got like an 8% in bounce rate. a 3.5% drop in conversion rate, and a 10% drop in number of pages that people view on your website. And again, that's for every second that there is a delay in that one single page loading. That's going to impact everything that people do on your site, and I probably don't need to tell you that that's just not good. So we need to make sure that the mobile site is optimized visually and for speed. We're seeing actually a pattern with a lot of our clients where the mobile traffic, you're looking at the desktop versus mobile traffic, and the desktop traffic is declining, the mobile traffic is increasing, and their conversion rates are tanking. And the simple reason for that is because their site is optimized for conversions on desktop, but it's not optimized for conversions on mobile. And a lot of people are going to start seeing that because more traffic is going mobile. If your site isn't optimized, if you're not taking care of your mobile visitors, giving them a good online experience, you may get even more traffic than you were getting before, but you're going to get fewer conversions and you're going to start losing business. So that's an important thing to look at. Structured data. Is anybody here not familiar with structured data? Okay. Basically, what we're looking at is a set of code that goes in around certain elements of content on your website to tell search engines what that content is. It could be an address, it could be a review, star review, it could be a recipe, time it takes for certain things, directions, things like that. So this is basically behind the scenes stuff, this code you inserted, and it helps the search engines to understand what key parts of each page is about. Thank you. So what you want to do is look for opportunities, and there's a lot of different schema code that covers a wide range of things. So you need to look at, for your industry, what schema there is that's going to work for you. Going to schema.org will give you a lot of information on that. But one of the key benefits of using schema is it allows some of your content, different content, to show up in the search results. In the examples here, we see, we got the 4-star ratings. It takes 2 hours and 20 minutes, 480 calories for recipe. These are all things that schema informs the search engines, and they can use that and put it in the search results, and that can impact your click-through rates. And that can be very important. Now, remember, using schema doesn't automatically mean that this information is going to show up in the search results, but if you don't have it, you're diminishing the opportunity for Google to be able to analyze that. It also, when you use it in breadcrumbs, it can help Google assess your site links, the additional links on the site below, giving you different options for people to go to your site. So it is very valuable to use. You just got to look and see what the best opportunities are and what you need to do. And like I said, it's just a very little bit of code. Just for this, you can see you just adding a snippet of code before and saying, hey, look, this is what this particular item is on the website. And this is one of those things we say, hey, look, hand that over to a coder. If you know code and you can look up the schema, you can add this, but sometimes if you're doing a lot of stuff like this, say, give it to the developer, let them run with it, get it done. I'm a big fan of passing things off to people. I don't like to do work myself. It's delegation, So find somebody who can do it better than you and let them do it. All right, so Canonical Tag, when it comes to duplicate content, it's kind of creepy, right? You got different content or same content, different URLs. The Canonical Tag will help with that. That's a very simple piece of code that goes in on every page that says, hey, listen, I've got these different URLs. They all have the same content, but this is the one URL that I want Google to notice. And of all the other URLs that may be getting links, all of that value will be passed to what is now the canonical URL, the main URL that you want to get indexed. And quick example of how that works. Here's a URL, and you can see the part that's similar to what's in the canonical tag, but then it's got some filtering parameters added to the URL. And when you get into filtering parameters, there oftentimes is an endless number of variables, which means you can have an endless number of different URLs with the exact same content. Well, adding the canonical tag basically says, hey, look, let's just get rid of this part of it. And the visitor will see it. It'll be in the browser. It'll all work properly, but it tells the search engine, hey, this is the main URL that we want. And very simple. And even if you don't have duplicate content, we definitely recommend using canonical tag anyway. It's just one of those things that helps and ensures the search engines are going to be grabbing the right URL, because somebody can add parameters to a URL. If they type in a URL, do a question mark, they can add in a bunch of stuff, submit that to search engines or link to it that way. Search engines will now find duplicate URLs without you actually even using any on your website. So that's where the canonical tag can actually prevent any problems like that from happening. Heading tags, this is an optimization thing that a lot of people will debate the relevance of heading tags in terms of value for SEO. I still like to use the heading tags. It does provide hierarchy. Now there's 6 heading tags, H1s, 2s, 3s, 4, 5, 6. And this is the code you put around, you know, what looks like a heading, you know, a paragraph break where you've got something standing out. And typically what you want, the H1 is the most important heading on the page. That goes at the top, and there should only be one H1 per page. You don't want to have more. And here's a site example where, you know what, there's 2 H1s on the page. Well, we'll go as an SEO, go in and change that and say this one's going to be an H2, and then below that you got the H3. And basically how you decide, well, what should this be, an H1, H2, H3, think of it as like a term paper where your H1 is the title, then your main points, which would be on a paper, you know, point 1, point 2, point 3, those are your H2s, and then you know, your A, B, C subpoints, those are your H3s. So it's just really, you know, go back to college, think about how you structure an outline. That's how you structure your heading tags. Talked a little bit about breadcrumbs a minute ago in terms of using schema. Breadcrumbs themselves are valuable and important on your websites. Especially once you've got deep sites where there's a lot of different paths getting to different content. One, it's a visual cue for visitors to go, this is where I am on the website. You know, lets them know what section of the site they're in, and then so they can easily navigate back. But one of the values of breadcrumbs now is the search engines are looking at those, and in the search results, they will often replace your URL with a breadcrumb trail. So that can actually help the visitor, again, when they're looking and deciding which site do I want to click on. They'll read your title, read your description, and they'll look at the URL. And if it's a breadcrumb trail, that kind of gives them some more context for your site and context for their search and whether, you know, what it is that they're looking for. It also helps with the site links. Now, apparently this is now an old version of what site links look like. They're now kind of a scrolly bar in the search results. But breadcrumbs, when matched with URLs, it allows the search engines to see the site links and utilize those and decide, you know, hey, these are the pages we want to go ahead and put in there. Form validation errors, this is a big one. Pet peeve of mine is going to a forum, putting in information, hitting submit, and then you're told, hey, you did something wrong. And then it's like, well, what did I do wrong? And you're kind of scrolling back through the form, trying to figure out what the problem is. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they say, hey, you didn't do the password in just the right way. And it's like, well, that's information that would have been helpful yesterday, you know, when I was typing this in. What I like to use is inline form validation, which basically is before anybody even submits the form, it tells them what they got wrong in the form. So they don't have to hit the submit and go back, figure out what to do to fix it. As they type it in, inline validation says, hey, yep, this is right, hey, this is wrong, go back, correct that, and then you can move on. It's just a simple way to make sure that the forms get filled out properly the first time, less frustration for each of the visitors. You know, just simple validation before submission. HTTP response codes. Every valid URL on your site should have a response code of 200. Okay, this is a good site. There's a lot of different response codes. But this is the one that says, hey, all is good. And the search engines, when they access the URLs, they see that. Now, if you have non-valid URLs or URLs that are no longer in existence, maybe you deleted a page, removed it, then you don't want the search engines to find this is valid. And that happens where people, there's an old link, an old page that's been removed, but it's still returning a 200 OK. The search engines will keep going back to get that data. So you want to make sure that you look at all of your HTTP response codes and just do a quick verification that they're putting out what you intend to do. And there's a lot of different codes, but most of the ones you need to know about is the 200 OK or, hey, this page isn't here. Doctype and language. These are just signals that help the search engines better, what's the word I'm looking for? Assess the page, better understand what it is. The doctype says, hey, look, this is an HTML document or whatever else it might be. You want to make sure you put that in there so they're looking at it as that. The language lets them know this is the way they should interpret that. If you're using, American English or UK English or Australian English, you want to differentiate that so the search engines kind of see, okay, this is what they expect as far as the dialect being used and things like that. If you're using another language other than English, you want to make sure to declare that. So again, these are all things that search engines can figure out, and eventually they will figure it out. But a big part of SEO is making things as easy on the search engines as possible, not waiting for them to figure anything out, and just getting it out there for them. And this is the final slide here, analytics. Make sure you got some analytics code installed on your website. You want to be able to track what your visitors are doing. You want to be able to assess the things that are working, the things that aren't working. Maybe a page has a higher bounce rate. If you're not tracking the analytics, you won't know that page has a higher bounce rate, and you won't be able to go in and determine why. If some pages have lower conversion rates, again, you want to know that that's happening, so then you can start investigating why is this happening, and you can get those problems fixed. So that's it. You can get this presentation at ppmkg.com/code/hindering success. And if you have any questions, I'll give away a book right now. Do we have time for questions? How many minutes? 2 minutes? Okay. All right, let's do a question. Has anybody got any? Yeah.
You have those fast URLs and parameters. It's already indexed. What is the best way to fix that? Is it to index that? Is it follow?
If you have a URL with parameters that's getting indexed, the canonical tag is the best way to fix that, because that'll just tell the search engines ignore all the other parameters. This is the main URL. If you no index that URL, it'll no index the main URL. So you don't want to go that route. Yeah.
Switching to HTTPS, what do you think is the safest route to go? Like everybody I know who's tried, it fails miserably, kills their traffic. So do you think like doing a canonical and then doing like portions of the site with canonicals, and then once it takes over, then switch to 301, go straight to 301, do the whole site, do half the site?
I would change your canonicals right away. I would 301 redirect using htaccess, so it's just a global redirect. It goes from HTTP to HTTPS. That's the easiest way to do that.
I'm not looking for easy, so I'm looking for safest.
Well, that's the safest way to do it. I think no matter what, there's always going to be some road bumps in anything that you do on this type of stuff, but you want to tell the search engines exactly what you want. And some people go, hey, let's do a phased rollout or whatever, but if you feel safer doing that, go ahead, but I would just do the whole thing at once. So that's time. Let me give away another book real quick. Does anybody want it? Okay. All right, here it is. Mary Beth Hamilton. All right, thanks everybody.